Hello and welcome to the show. Now, last time out, a Dodge Charger went to the top of our Hill Climb Monsters table. Our challenger today is a rather different vehicle. While it is still a classic car, we have got the BMW 2002 Turbo. Small, will probably be very, very light. Hopefully can get a decent amount of power, though it is going to have smaller tyres than the Dodge. This is a car that you guys have been after me having a build with, so I am going to give it a try. My greatest memory of the 2002 Turbo is it had the most incredible turbo noise on Forza 5, I think it was. It's since gone and it's back to a normal car, but it was one of the noisiest turbos in the game in 5, which was always entertaining. We are going to start off, of course, converting the car to all-wheel drive. Engine swap, I don't know whether we're going to have to. We will wait and see and come back and have a look at that later on. There are some options, though. Not massively high-powered options, mind, but there are some options depending on what we have PI-wise. We do want Forza Aero for the downforce. We might be able to remove the rear bumper to save some weight. Again, we'll see what we're doing PI-wise, whether we are going to be able to get away with that or not. We are going to want some lovely snow tyres. That'll put us up towards the top of B-Class. We will get 245s on the front. Isn't too terrible, in fact, and 265s on the rear. Could have been worse. I perhaps feared we might have smaller tyres on this car. While they're not as impressive as the Chargers, it is a much less simple car, really, to move around the stage. So I'm hoping we will still have decent enough grip. Now, we might come back to that stuff, although we are definitely going to put the differential in the car. Now, brakes we are going to want. Most definitely we are going to want some lovely race brakes, and we're going to want off-road suspension, and we're going to want the handling parts. Let's not forget, this is a very, very narrow, windy stage that we are going through. Weight reduction is the interesting one. We could go full-on weight reduction. It'll bring it down to 2,300 pounds, but we do have to be careful in that we might not be able to get a huge amount of... I say we might not be able to get a huge amount of power in this car. We can probably get up to about 600, 700 horsepower from the 3.2-litre i6, I would imagine, is going to be the most powerful option. The standard engine, I would like to keep standard engines in cars where I can, but getting this to the top of its PI with a standard engine might be a little bit difficult. Although, actually, this is not getting too bad for power, which is always nice to see. Up to 376... 367. Sorry, I can count up to 400 horsepower now. So it's kind of a little bit redundant me trying and failing miserably at all of that sentence. 425 and a flywheel. The problem is I didn't put the oil and cooler again because that's just normally adding away. Problem is we're going to put this on. Yeah, we're not near the top of S1 class. So we are going to have to swap the engine out in this. Sadly, that is sometimes the way that it goes. So our options are 2-litre i4, the Turbo Rally, but I don't think the Turbo Rally is going to get to the top of S1 class because that doesn't get much more power than we've currently got in the standard car. Admittedly, it does get a lot more torque, but still. Or we can have the 3.2-litre i6. Let's go for the 3.2-litre. I don't know if we've used this before in a car. I certainly we've not used it in the Hill Climb Monsters series. I can't remember where I might have used it before. So yeah, we're going to shove on as much power as we can. This is, if I've remembered correctly, not the most powerful of engines. Not as powerful as the i6s we used to get in Horizon 2. There was 1,000 horsepower i6 in Horizon 2, and we certainly don't have that to play around with anymore. We're up to 532 horsepower. Now, we are going to go and have a look at weight reduction. Oh, in fact, we go full weight reduction. We're going to have a better power-to-weight ratio than the Lancia, and we've still got PI to play around with, which is nice. We will probably, with this much power, look at sticking a gearbox in the car, and maybe a clutch on, but we're only talking about 1 or 2 PI here, so we'll go back to the engine bits. Keep adding power. That's fine by me. Surely we can't max out this engine and keep everything in S1 class. I'll be very surprised if we can. However, it does look like we are starting to get that way. We're up to 680 horsepower. That is ridiculous power-to-weight ratio we've got going on here. I am a little bit scared. In fact, no, I changed that. I am a lot bit scared. 731 horsepower. Now, that has has increased the weight as well, but I think I'm going to go for the power, just for the sheer power that we can get out of this car. Stick the flywheel on as well. Let's see if we can get driveline or maybe remove the rear bumper, just anything. Yep, we can get that. We definitely have the diff in the car. That's good. And we will try with removing the rear bumper. I am amazed that we have got that much power going on. 731 horsepower. We're only a couple of hundred horsepower down on the Charger, and we're 1,000 pounds lighter. It is a massive power-to-weight ratio going on in this BMW, although it doesn't have as big a tyres as the Charger. This could be quite leery. This could be quite leery indeed. So, a potentially crazy BMW has been brought to the Devil's Corners hill climb, where it is going to get 3 runs through the stage in an attempt to go as fast as possible. The target time, a 1:58.5 set by the Charger last time out, might be a tall order for this car. I don't really know. In this series, there is a fair bit of I'm not quite sure what cars are going to do. Right, apparently this will stall if you don't get a amazingly good launch. Dear God, that's 123 miles an hour before turn 1. Oh, that's quick. That's very quick, although it is a downhill run towards the first corner, and it is a nice tarmac corner to get around. I guess the real test will be on the uphill section, the other long straight we get around here, see if we can crack the 120 mile an hour mark up there. It does seem pretty damn nippy, and we aren't actually too bad through the corners, whereas the Charger and the Transit both struggled with a fair bit of understeer. This is, as you might imagine, struggling a little bit with some oversteer. I think it's, well, you know, all-wheel drive is exactly what you're going to want on the snow, and can often tend to have cars understeer. And when you've got this much power in such a light car, 124 miles an hour, that's monstrously fast. That's stupidly fast in a straight line up there. We have, yeah, we've got a new fastest car in terms of straight line speed, but I'm not sure we have the composure through the corners. Brakes aren't bad on this, which is nice. It's always nice to have a car that you can relatively trust the brakes on. It's also finding it's getting airtime in places other cars simply haven't, because it has got the crazy acceleration. We're going to wander out a little bit wide there. Can we get the car turned in? Yes, indeed we can. Now we make the most. Oh dear, that's not where we wanted to be going. We've gone around the outside of the ice there. Oh, trying to get onto that power. About 102 miles an hour is the quickest we've seen. We're again 2 miles an hour faster across that jump than anyone else has been. Oh, I braked way too early. We can be braver. Okay, there's been some scruffiness, there's been some sidewaysness, and it's not been the cleanest of first runs. However, but remarkably, all of these cars have been pretty even in terms of speed on opening runs. The 201.1 from our mental BMW is a pretty solid start. There's definitely time to be found. So as we head on to our second run, it is all going to be about trying to tame the beast. I think we have got it off the line without stalling, which is always helpful. It's just ridiculously quick. Thank you guys for suggesting I drive this car. I wasn't expecting it to be madder than the Charger. I'm going to be honest, I was expecting it to be light, incredibly grippy, but perhaps down on power. I wasn't expecting to get 700 horsepower in it, and it is just a complete and utter animal. The Charger was relatively controlled, relatively composed, and this is what I would expect a muscle car to be like when tackling a snowy hill climb. It's terrifying, but it isn't completely out of control, which is comforting. It could be worse. It is just, yeah, on the borderline of being out of control at pretty much every single moment around this course. Now, you could say that's exciting. Perhaps not the best in terms of getting stage speed, but there we go. We go to take out the flag. I'm trying to get the power down, and we do end up sort of four-wheel drifting our way out of most of these corners as I'm trying to get the power down. We do actually land quite nicely. The Charger, on its actual quickest run, was a bit better, but it did have a few clonks on the heavier landing. So, yeah, having a nice smooth, well, I say it's a nice smooth landing. That was wildly out of control. I say wildly out of control. It looked wild. It was actually surprisingly controlled from the BMW. We dove a little too far to the inside there, which is less than ideal. Get the car turned. We are on, I think, a very, very good run from the BMW, although that's not going to have helped matters as we clonk our way through the ice patches. Oh no, things were going so well for the poor car. It does not get onto that icy straight. It does not get onto that very well. It doesn't get out of that corner particularly nicely because of the manic oversteer that is going on. It is, though, going to go incredibly fast. Oh, the Charger. The Charger has got a very, very serious challenger immediately, a 158.7, and that was with a fairly sizable mistake. I don't know how much time was lost in it, but yeah, all this is going to be close. So it is on to the final run with our rather brutal BMW. Just 0.2 of a second is needed to go faster than the Charger, and that is not a huge amount of time. No, however, this is not as composed a car as the Dodge. You got to make sure not to try and overdrive it in the hunt for a couple of tenths. A mistake at one of these hairpins will cost you an awful lot of time. So yeah, caution, much like with the Charger, in fact, on the Dodge's fastest run. There was a certain element of caution was having to go into the runs. Don't get on the power too soon. With a Dodge, you'd understeer. In this, you will be oversteering. There is a very fine line between trying to, go that little bit quicker and then ending up overdriving and losing a huge swathes of time, and you've got to try and tread it quite carefully. I worry that this might be a little bit too uncontrollable. We will have to wait and see what I can do with the car. Get on the brakes nice and early. Get the front end turned in and get on that power again as soon as we can. It is, again, it's a lovely four-wheel drift, in fact, around that turn, and then let the banking on the inside help the front end get around. We are, as I'm throwing this car at the course a little bit harder, we are starting to feel a little bit of understeer kick in. Oh, that's a little bit tight on the apex. Not quite an ideal line. Honestly, where we flew so wonky through the air did actually help us out in a weird way. Not that I particularly want to deliberately position my car in that manner, however, it did help us, I think, on that second run. Now, as we head through the ice patches, it is very bumpy there, and the BMW is not a massive fan of those bumps. We have got it through control, though, which is important as we now blast down towards the penultimate corner. Get the front end turned in. Now we head around this final turn. It's going to be the run towards the line for the BMW. What is the time going to be? Oh, it was quick. It was quicker, just a tenth of a second faster. 158.4 from the BMW 2002 Turbo. Oh, that's, yeah, big deep breaths now, I think, from that run. It's a crazy car. It's an absolutely bonkers car. However, it will go top of the table by just over a tenth of a second from the Dodge Charger. It is just over half a second faster than the Delta S4, about a second quicker than the Ford Transit. Actually, all very close between four completely different cars at the top of this table is actually very, very close, and that gives me hope going forward with this series that we've got quite a balanced course so far. Maybe it's just been the car choice, but yeah, it has actually been a relatively close between these four. The BMW is absolutely bonkers. It is not at all the sort of car that I expected to be taking up this course. However, when you get things right, a brilliantly fast one. At times, a little bit difficult across that icy straight. The bumps have been horrendous to the BMW. None of the other cars had that issue. Even the Lotus didn't have that issue across the bumps. And quite scary, however, if you get things right with it, it will be monstrously fast. So, yeah, unfortunately, sorry guys, the Dodge's reign at the top of the table is rather short-lived. Who knows what goes out next, though, might displace the BMW as well. That, though, is going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.